afternoon. Now it is 5-minute fundamentals today for everyone. Thought I would talk about hydrogen peroxide. Now, there are a lot of things to account for with hydrogen peroxide, and I'm going to go through a few of them and give you a summary of tested and reported dose rates, as well as people from experience and things like that. Okay. Now, I will say these are not my recommendations. This is just a summary of recommendations from white papers as well as people's personal experience as well. Okay. So the most important thing about hydrogen peroxide and any oxidizer is that a lot of the water parameter conditions will influence its potency, water temperature, etc., as well as the amount of organics, and the amount of organics is obviously determined by the type of filtration that you've got on your system and how clean your system is and how much food's going in and how much nutrient is being exported. Okay, every system is going to be different, and therefore the dose rate is going to vary. All right, so you need to be careful. Start low and work your way up. Okay, a few things on hydrogen peroxide dosing. Okay, so organic matter and aeration. Obviously, I've talked about organic matter, but aeration and degassing will significantly reduce the H2O2 or the hydrogen peroxide concentration over time. So within 24 hours, that can reduce hydrogen peroxide levels below the therapeutic dose rate that you've actually added. Species sensitivity, not all species like hydrogen peroxide. Shrimp will get absolutely nailed by it. Snails don't like it. Crustaceans in general don't like it. Some corals don't like it as well. So they don't all tolerate hydrogen peroxide equally either. So again, test at a very reduced dose rate and slowly work your way up. Do not get complacent and go, okay, that was okay, so I'll just double the dose. Do not do that, okay? Now, also, a lot of these dose rates actually come from the University of Florida white paper as well. So some of these references will be in regards to USDA regulations. Obviously, in Australia, if you're going to use it for aquaculture, you need a minor use permit. So you need to be a bona fide aquaculture farmer with access to a minor use permit dictating that dose rate. Okay, but I don't need to tell you all about that. We know all that. Okay. Make sure you're following your regulations, guys, because it just makes your life a lot easier in the long run. Sensitivity and toxicity. We don't need to worry about pike and paddlefish and walleye, but they were, affected without caution. Should not be treated with without caution, I should say. Shouldn't be treated without caution. Obviously, they're a bit sensitive. Tolerant species, swordtails, tiger barbs, and serpent tetras can tolerate moderate concentrations of hydrogen peroxide, up to 20 milligrams per litre for short-term exposure. High sensitive species, blue gouramis and suckermouth catfish show extreme sensitivity, especially to concentrations as low as 6 to 21 milligrams per litre. Okay, so again, test it in batches. Just make sure that you're not going to nuke anything. All right, so losing, say, 10 neon tetras is a lot in a bucket, is a lot better than losing 3,000. All right, we want to, treat our animals with respect and things like that, but be careful is all I'm saying. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, I will go into dose rates for different species and different times and different applications. Okay, so for aquaculture, mold on cold water finfish eggs was between 500 and 1,000 milligrams per litre. This is of 35% hydrogen peroxide. Okay, 35, not 3 like we use in marine aquariums. 35. Okay, and that worked out to be a dose rate of 0.13 to 0.25 mils per 100 litres for a period of 15 minutes, once per day or on alternative days until hatching. Another dose was 750 to 1,000 milligrams per litre for the same egg treatment, but in warm water fish. That's 0.19 to 0.25 mils for 15 minutes. As you can see, not very long, very high dose, but not very long, and these are eggs. Bacterial gill disease on freshwater salmonoids was 100 milligrams per litre. for 30 minutes, or 0.025 mils per 100 litres. And it goes on, bacterial gill disease for a 60-minute bath, Columnaris on channel catfish and cool water finfish, range from 50 to 100 milligrams per litre, 50, 75, 100 milligrams per litre for a period of between 30 and 60 minutes for every day, or once every day, or once every 3 days until treated. So that's, generally speaking, pretty, pretty regular dose rate. The Therant stage of saltwater white spot, however, was tested at concentrations of 10 milligrams per litre, 50 milligrams per litre, and 100 milligrams per litre. So that was between 0.025 mils and 0.13 mils, or 0.25 mils, I should say, of 35% hydrogen peroxide for 1 hour, and observed mortality rates of up between 80 to 91% of Therant. So even at 10 milligrams per litre, it was effective. Okay, so that's important to remember. Marine aquarium dosage rates for 6% hydrogen peroxide was 1.7 mils per 100 litres, or a concentration of about 1 milligram per litre. General pathogen control in marine aquariums for 3% was 0.7, which was 0.75 mils per litre concentration, which equaled 2.5 mils per 100 litres. So between 1.7 and 2.5 mils per 1.7 mils per 100 litres for 6%, 2.5 mils per 100 litres at 3%. So it's, roughly going to work out the same. It's 0.75 to 1 milligram per litre of concentration of hydrogen peroxide, whatever concentration you're using. And you do need to do the calculations every time, okay? Unapproved treatments between 170 and 560 milligrams per litre, or 35% for a lot of different pathogens. These are all bath treatments of between 10 and 30 minutes that range from 75 milligrams per litre right up to 300 milligrams per litre. You need to bear in mind that the bath rates for aquaculture are obviously, one, dealing with a lot stronger fish. Secondly, it's definitely a system that's a lot cleaner, and it's for a lot shorter period of time as well. So that's the other thing: higher concentration, short period of time; longer concentration, higher period of time. So that would tell me that, generally speaking, if we're talking about 3%, 2.5 mils per 100 litres, or 1.7 mils per 100 litres for 6%, which is a slightly higher concentration. But if we're talking about dosage rate in milligrams per litre, that's between 0.75 and 1 milligram per litre of concentration. For a marine aquarium dose, obviously species specific for aquaculture is going to be a little bit different. But yes, so I mean, we're talking about long-term exposure of 0.75 to 1 milligram per litre versus short-term exposure of 20 milligrams per litre or more. At these very low dose rates of 0.75 to 1 milligram per litre for marine aquariums, you're probably not going to notice too much of an issue at all. If you have widespread issues, obviously using that dose rate in a spot treatment that can then circulate throughout the entire aquarium is a good idea. And have water on hand to change water. There is a lot of things with hydrogen peroxide because it can't be controlled once you've dosed it, unlike ozone. So you do need to be careful. Start low, work your way up, okay? It's art and science. Don't get complacent. But it is an incredibly useful tool, especially when dosed before UVs. It produces an advanced oxidation process. More on that later. This was supposed to be a 5-minute fundamental, but it's now 9.5. But quite an involved subject. So, and not everything can be covered in even 10 minutes on hydrogen peroxide, but that gives you the idea. Yeah, search for those papers. I can send you the papers if you want. But yeah, just work out your concentrations for hydrogen peroxide. For marine aquariums, it's between 0.75 to 1 milligram per litre. For aquaculture, it's species dependent. and other aquariums are species dependent as well. So just be careful, gather all your information, start low, work your way up. Every system's going to be different, every species is going to be different. Have a good day, but hopefully without confusing you, this has shed some light on hydrogen peroxide dosing and how careful you need to be with it, and the wide range of dose rates that you can work with. Have a great day. Happy Monday.